Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Without wasting any time, we know what the bombshell news is today. We had it dropped upon us last night. Odsonne Edouard has been confirmed with the coronavirus. Yes, it has affected the best player in Scotland. It has affected Celtic's key man. Odsonne Edouard is the latest victim of a bunch of footballers recently on this international trip. He's been confirmed to be someone with the coronavirus. Great. Our key man coming up for the biggest game of the season so far against Rangers. Great. Will he miss the Old Firm? We'll talk about it all in this episode of The Back Pages. Anyway, of course, usually the Back Pages takes place on a Sunday or a Monday. That's when we do this series. But because of the game on Sunday against Hibs and because of the transfer deadline day news and the round-up for the window as well, I've had to postpone it till now, Wednesday. And funnily enough, I have delayed it to the day which probably has the most news surrounding Scottish football in the back pages of the newspapers on this fine Wednesday. Wednesday's never a big day for news and sport, but you know what? It is now. I'm even holding it up right. Front page, not back page. Front page of the Daily Record this morning. Celtic ace Edouard has COVID. Straight to the point. Simple headline. No messing about there. No puns. No nothing. They're just that's going to sell. You know, people see that. That's selling. That's a sell right there. Front page news, of course. Celtic star Odsonne Edouard has tested positive for COVID-19. He was hit with the coronavirus bombshell yesterday after travelling home to team up with the French under-21 squad. So, of course, let's just put this to bed right now for the Rangers fans who do watch this. A lot of people are claiming that he may have had this when we were playing against Hibs on Sunday. No, he didn't. Of course, the players get tested before these games. He didn't have it. It's now became a thing because he's travelled over to France to play with the French under-21. So that is how he's managed to pick up the virus, which isn't great. There's a lot of questions surrounding what's going to happen. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people commenting on my videos. What happens next? Is he going to be playing for Celtic against Rangers? What's happening? We're going to try and cover as much of it with the details from the newspapers and my own information today. So bear with me and we'll go through that. So the rest of the story continued on from the front page follows. At this stage, Parkhead bosses believe he's the only member of Neil Lennon's squad to have caught the virus, with the rest of his teammates understood to have posted negative since Sunday's 2-0 win at St Johnstone. Three of Edouard's teammates, Greg Taylor, Cal McGregor and Ryan Christie, are with Scotland in Edinburgh HQ as Steve Clarke's men gear up for a Euro 2020 semi-final playoff against Israel on Thursday night. But there is no suggestion that any of them could have contracted the disease, with club sources suspected Edouard may have picked it up on the journey to the French national headquarters, 50 kilometres southwest of Paris. He was expected to play for the French under-21s in games against Liechtenstein on Thursday and Slovakia next Monday before returning to Scotland to prepare for the first Old Firm derby of the season, October 17th. Last night, Celtic were holding talks with government health officials to determine whether the player will have to go back into a 2-week quarantine in his homeland before he's given the green light to travel back to Glasgow. That could leave Lennon without his talisman for the visit from Rangers in a couple of weeks' time. As it stands, no other player has turned positive at Celtic. Our testing programme will continue and we will continue to follow all protocols. The French FA statement said the result of this COVID-19 test has been positive. Odsonne Edouard was sidelined from the group upon the receipt of the results at the end of training and he was placed in isolation. So of course the Daily Record not answering too much in terms of what's going to happen next with Odsonne Edouard. Will he be able to play the Old Firm? That is the question that is going to be on everybody's mind. The Glasgow derby is what matters. I'm sure Celtic fans aren't given a toss whether or not he's playing for France. Of course, there's a lot of questions surrounding whether or not he'll be able to train. Will he have to train himself? He will have to train himself. He'll be in isolation. So, you know, he's going to be stuck on France. Now, from what I understand, from what I have seen online, from journalists and from other members of the media and such, the quarantine length in France right now is 10 days. Now, if he completes that 10 days of isolation, and then by the end of it tests negative, the Old Firm, I believe, is in, 11 days' time. So he could come back and he could be involved in the Old Firm if he tests negative. That is subject to how much training he gets. He keeps himself fit, if he feels sharp. who knows, he might feel fatigued after this. Everybody has been affected differently from this virus, everybody who's had it anyway. Some people feel fine. You look at Callum Hudson-Odoi, who was one of the first footballers that were confirmed with the virus. He came out on Sky Sports, he was like, I feel fine, nothing's wrong with me. He looked alright. Some players feel fatigued. Some people are, of course, to the highest extent dying in critical conditions and stuff. More in the older ages. But Hudson-Odoi, we need to say, I am extremely doubtful that we're going to see much involvement from him in the derby now. And I suppose now we'll need to turn to Lee Griffiths and Patrick Clamara. Now, there is a 100% possibility that he could play in the derby. If he completes that 10 days, comes back to Scotland, he can be involved because he's completed the isolation over there, and you don't need to quarantine when coming back. These footballers don't have to, because if they did, that means the whole Celtic squad would have to do it, because we are travelling. We'd have our Norway players having to do it. Rangers would have people like Glenn Kamara having to do it, I believe, as well. So it is an exception for them as long as they test negative. So hopefully Edouard does get tested negative and he can be involved in the derby. Of course, we need him. He is the biggest player. And I'm sure there's going to be more on it. We'll see what the Express is saying to it when we move on to there. But the back pages of the Daily Record this fine day, Alfredo Morelos, an exclusive from the Daily Record. Qatar is back in for Alf. Megabucks golf side Al Duhail can offer fast track to PSG for Gers star. Alfredo Morelos could yet be offered a route out of Ibrox this month, with mega rich Qatari side Al Duhail and considering a fresh move for the Colombian. So it's not over yet. Transfer window's still open in Qatar. I believe they can sell. I'm sure Rangers won't want to sell, but the Qatari sides have money to throw about. Will a bid tempt Rangers into let them go if a lot of money is there? Who knows? The other story on the back pages, the other stories, Ollie McBurney, I owe the boss. McBurney admits it's Clark payback time. Ollie McBurney, except he owes Steve Clark big time. And he has vowed to repay the Scotland boss's patience by firing the country one step closer to the Euros. Let's hope you keep to your word, Ollie. I've always been a big critic of Ollie McBurney. I've never been a big fan. So let's hope he sticks to that and he does help pay back. And then finally, Ajeti eases headache. Albion Ajeti is set to hand Neil Lennon a boost by returning for the Old Firm game as Celtic sweat on the condition of virus hit. Odds on Edouard. Edouard's positive test for COVID-19 makes him a major doubt for next weekend's derby, but Lennon's options up front could be boosted by the return of striker Albion Ajeti. Is Ajeti going to be back in time then? Is that what we're saying? Is that what's been said here? Oh, I am looking forward to that. Moving on into the actual newspaper now, we've got a big double page spread on the new signing Diego Laxalt. Lenny had his eye on Diego after watching him start alongside Cavani and Suarez at 2018 World Cup. And then Nicholas is a silly boy. Neil Lennon hitting out at Charlie Nicholas. Absolutely ridiculous. Hey, rhymed there. The stuff that Charlie Nicholas was saying towards the signing of Diego Laxalt and towards the transfer window of Celtic, just an absolute grip for relevancy. And I don't want to come on here and give the reaction that Nicholas is of course looking for by punters and by fans. His comments were just borderline stupid. Absolute height of mediocrity his career's went into now, so he's looking for any form of relevance, spies, clicks, whatever, anything to get him back to that pinnacle of being Jeff Sterling's wee puppet. So, you know what, Charlie Nicholas, everything that you've done for Celtic in the past, you're just becoming one of those players who are slowly erasing how much we actually care. The likes of Chris Commons has done the same. Players who are deeply loved, done a lot for the club, and then suddenly just don't matter because you make stupid comments like that. And anyway, quote of the day: if Morelos doesn't drop the weight and start scoring goals, then it'll be his transfer price that will be shedding lots of... Of course it had to. If Morelos doesn't drop the weight and start scoring goals, then it'll be his transfer price that sheds the weight. So people saying if he doesn't get his act together, it could be a chance his transfer fee will go down. That's a quote of the day in the Record by the fans who have been calling in. And of course that story on Morelos in there, the potential chance of him leaving Albion Ajeti back with Celtic for the Old Firm. Ollie McBurney want to make up for Scotland. That does the Record for today. Let's move on to the final paper because we've spoke for a long time, and that's the Daily Express. No Edouard story on the front, but of course it is taking up the back, this photo of Edouard responsibly wearing his mask. And sadly it's not helped him in this situation. Edouard is COVID positive. Going straight to the point. Same with the Record as well. Straight to the point, no messing about. Shock test result leaves Celtic striker in Old Firm derby sweat. Celtic striker Hudson-Odoi could miss the Old Firm derby against Rangers after testing positive for COVID-19. So once again, the story is going the same way as the Daily Record. He could miss it. We don't know. There's a lot of technicalities technicalities around this. It's not cut dry, not straightforward. There is going to be a lot of talks being held with, I imagine, the SFA, the SPFL, the Scottish Government, the French Government and stuff. There's going to be a lot of technicalities sorted out before we can release Edouard back onto the football field for Celtic. Will he have to wait the whole 14 days, considering that is the waiting period in Scotland? Will it just be 10 days? I would love to see him involved, but you've got to remember training and everything as well, as previously mentioned. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a tough one to get all together and get him back into the squad in time for that. So we can only hope, but we've got a Yeti hopefully battle. We've got Griffiths, we've got Klimala, and we've got the rest of the squad there. Look, we have more than enough to beat Rangers. It would just be lovely to have him there. A story on Jim Goodwin on the back of the Express. The sack is hanging over him, apparently. Sack fear is hanging over boss. Jim Goodwin, St Mirren manager Jim Goodwin admits his neck is on the block following 6 straight defeats. The Irishman held talks with the club's board this week to discuss the team's slump to the joint bottom of the Premiership, but Goodwin is adamant he can turn things around. Really surprising judging the start of the season for St Mirren, the first couple of games, and the expectation laid upon them. Of course, Tony Fitzpatrick came out and said that he wanted a top 6 finish with St Mirren. Right now, they look as though they'll be lucky to stay up with these 6 straight defeats. It's been awful form. I believe Goodwin can turn it around. I like Jim Goodwin. I like what he's trying to do there. Maybe there is a couple of tactical errors that he has made, you know, stuff with how he's got Bika playing and all that that is probably making this slump harder for him, and this fear of the sack. But ultimately, I think he can turn it around, but he doesn't have long to do so. Forced to forfeit. I've been having to forfeit in the Betfred Cup. And then Lenny has popped at Express columnist. Of course, last week we were talking about Charlie Nicholas in the Express. The last episode of the back pages, Charlie Nicholas was recommending Neil Lennon to sign Christian Fuchs. Now, this is what I don't understand. Charlie Nicholas was trying to urge Neil Lennon to sign Christian Fuchs, which I agreed would have been a fantastic signing, but instead we went and got someone younger. We've got someone who's a World Cup team of the tournament, someone who's been playing over in Italy at a very high level for the past few years, over a 34-year-old who didn't play much football last year, and, you know, has had a good career as well, but what is the problem? We've got an option to buy just because we've loaned them out, Charlie Nicholas. You're talking at your backside, mate. And I think it's pretty harsh on Lennon and everything he's done. We'll see how things go. The same piece on McBurney being in here, Scott McKenna, a piece on him too, a piece on Diego Laxalta as well. And that about does it for the Express. But of course today, the big story has been about this man. Will Edouard be able to play the old form? I will keep you updated on the channel as news develops, as I hear anything. If you come here for your source of Celtic news, I appreciate that, and don't worry. As soon as I hear word that Edouard will or won't be able to play the derby in a couple of weeks' time, you will know on here, and we'll discuss that in depth. Right now, it's looking doubtful. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. It is looking doubtful. I think we need to turn to Griffiths and co for the derby, but we'll see how things go. Hopefully, Edouard's a strong man with a strong immune system and he can get through this quicker than most. But we'll wait and see. If you have enjoyed this episode of the Back Pages, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It has been a very, very fun week again as normal, and I'll see you all next time.